Coming up now, we have our first race of the MotoTeam happening very soon for you all. This weekend, it is a very special weekend for these guys. We have got a friendly competitive match taking place between the South Africans and the British, set up by the riders themselves. Speaking to them all today, there's a lot of friendly rivalry, friendly banter going on between them, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that.
Well, you say friendly rivalry, but I know there's a few riders that are taking it deadly seriously as well. Some of the O'Keefe guys are very much like, South Africans want nothing to do with you. I don't think they're getting full spitting image. Never met a nice South African on it, but it's certainly heading in that direction. It's all fun and games. At the end of the day, it's just something they've set up on their own. Nothing that the series itself have organised. It's all just very much between the own riders. But it just creates something a little bit extra nice. We've got a few South Africans on the grid today. Again, they've had to claim a few people as their own. I think they're saying that the top British rider will be a South African going into this one. But we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold across the rest of the weekend. But a nice little intra-squad tournament there as the riders make their way out onto the grid. And of course, it's just another thing that we have to keep in mind, alongside the fact that it's MotoTeam and there's two different classes as well. So it could be very, very interesting indeed. Now, it should be important to note, no Ian Jackson by the looks of things coming into this weekend. So that could be a bit interesting. In fact, it looks like everybody out there is on their own bike and are doing their own thing. The only team name that I can see in the grid is Team FAB-Racing, which, as we all know, is Marco Pandolfo, who's riding that all season. So it should be really interesting to see how it's going to unfold. And, of course, very important to remember as well, no number 96, no Will Howells today. So him and that dominant machine not showing up. Should be interesting then. Let's get underway. Let's get our grid going. It's Team FAB-Racing. Marco Pandolfo, the number 8, starts on pole with Joshua French alongside. Harrison O'Keefe is P3 with Phil Joyce in 4th. Ben O'Keefe starts 5th. Let's hope he doesn't crash in the final corner and throw away a race win this time, alongside Jack Van Eden, who returns this weekend. George Knights is 7th with Paul Kelly in P8. Linton Dimiola is P9 alongside Malcolm Steyn. Rhys Gentry is 11th with Rob Huntley in P12. And Gary O'Keefe rounds out our grid. Should be very interesting. Of course, two different classes, but now two battles of the nations as well to watch.
I know, we've got it all happening this weekend, haven't we, Ross? They're just coming round now on that out lap before they form the grid, and we get this race underway here at Ellis Park. In pole position, we have Team FAB-Racing, like Ross just said. Marco Pandolfo there with his team. He is running on the MotoTeam Open Championship. And in second place, we have Joshua French. Not too sure what he's doing, if he's open or standard. We will have to wait and see. Quite a small grid we've got for these guys here, but it's going to be a good one.
I've seen smaller in the MotoTeam. Important to note as well that Joshua French is not French, nor does he represent the nation of France in this mini Ashes test. He's just kind of there for the fun with that last name. Right then, it's all eyes to the lights. Let's go racing in MotoTeam race number 1. Oh, and Marco Pandolfo doesn't go anywhere. Or was that a jump start, maybe? All possible. Jack Van Eden is somehow leading into turn 1. What is going on? I got no idea whatsoever. I think it may have been a few jump starts as they got going, and then a few of them went. Somehow, the 17 of Jack Van Eden making his return to FAB-Racing this weekend, a former Grand Prix rider himself, up into the lead. Chaos away at the start. Is Van Eden from French, from Marco Pandolfo, your top 3.
That was absolute madness at that start here. We have got, like Ross said, the number 17 of Jacques Van Eden leading ahead of the 1/116 of Joshua French, who Marco Pandolfo is looking on his team at me to be making a move, and he does. That is number 8 now up into second, and he's close on the tail on that number 17. Gonna look to make a move. There you go. You saw the number 17 and looked behind him then to see what is gonna happen. He is hot. Number 8 of Team FAB-Racing in second position is hot on the tail of that number 17. We are got 10 laps left to go here. Our current running in order is the number 17 of Jacques Van Eden, the number 8 Marco Pandolfo for Team FAB-Racing, third place the 1/16 Joshua French, and then fourth we have the number 65, which is Harrison O'Keefe.
Obviously, right now, I think it's South Africa winning this semi-Ashes thing. Jacques Van Eden, of course, representing that country, but he has run deep into the hairpin, and it's allowed Marco Pandolfo, the number 8 Team Acme bike, and the 116 of Joshua French through. So, who knows what's going on. I mean, we've got to remember as well, 2 different classes at the same time. Another thing to keep your mind on, Jacques Van Eden's in open, Team Acme Racing, that's in the open bike, as we clarified last time out at Lid when everyone else thought they were a standard bike. Joshua French is on the standard class machinery, though. So Joshua French leads the way in standard, Harrison O'Keefe for second, Phil Joyce is third in that class. Third place in the open class is currently running P11 overall. It's Malcolm, or P9 overall, should I say, and it's Malcolm Stein. So that's the open class there. And again, just trying to wrap your head around all of it. Sometimes it's a bit too much for my small brain. So currently, I think that South Africa are winning the Ashes. I don't know. It's confusing.
Yeah, we'll let them tell us that about that one. Currently leading this race on the MotoTeam Open is Marco Pandolfo of the Team Acme Racing. I just want to mention quickly though, running 6th overall at the moment is Linton Di Meola, and I heard from a little birdie earlier that he has changed from a Honda to a Suzuki this race weekend. There we can see number 17, our third of Jacques Van Eden there, ahead of the 65 of Harrison O'Keefe and the 119 of Phil Joyce. 8 laps left to go here. So far, running first for the MotoTeam Open is Marco Pandolfo. Following him from MotoTeam Open Championship is Jacques Van Eden, who's running third overall. Joshua French running second overall, but leading for the MotoTeam Standard.
Absolutely. We know that the O'Keefe boys were taking this Ashes tournament very, very seriously, alongside, of course, having some fun along the way. And have to wait and see. So we're not entirely sure either how it all works for someone like Marco Pandolfo, who comes from Sicily. Where does he fit into all of this? Is he just sort of a kind of a bystander, or who knows, quite frankly? But yeah, we know that the O'Keefe's taking this tournament very, very seriously. They were eyeing up the South Africans across them in the paddock with rage in their eyes, and maybe some I wouldn't say fear in their hearts, because, you know, those boys never get scared, even when they crash out of the race on the final lap. Sorry, Ben, I'm never going to let you live that one down every single time we come back to Ella Park. There we do see the 41 of Linton Di Meola on the Suzuki, as you said, Izzy, for the first time this weekend. Seems to be running A-OK for the time being. He's holding off Ben O'Keefe, Malcolm Stein just behind as well. Paul Kelly also in this battle on the 339 machine. That yellow and green fairing just behind. Has a little look actually to the inside of Malcolm Stein. Can't quite make anything happen on that occasion. So clearly the switch to the Suzuki's working out okay for Di Meola. Yeah,
it definitely looks like it is. He's got that little bit of the lead on Ben O'Keefe at the moment. He's sitting comfortably in 6th place overall in this race with 6 laps left to go. There we can see him there ahead of Ben O'Keefe, the number 41 of Linton Di Meola, coming round into that first corner of this race, coming up past race control, up to the back end of the track, through a nice sweeping curving section. It'll be interesting to see how he does leading this race overall. Currently is Marco Pandolfo of the Team Acme Racing. Fastest lap of 53.919. Brilliant stuff to see from him. Still on our screens, we can see the 64 of Ben O'Keefe. This is a nice battle, 4-way battle we've got going on here for 7th position. Interesting to see what's going to happen between all of these guys here. 5 laps overall left to go of this race here at Ella Park, the first race for the MotoTeam Championship.
Yeah, great lap times there from the number 8 machine of Marco Pandolfo. Of course, little way off the lap record. I don't think we're going to be seeing any MotoTeam lap records broken anytime soon, of course. The previous one here set by Will Howarth back in 2022 under the older regulations that were a little bit faster, but still some very solid times from the number 8 from the Sicilian on the Team Acme Racing bike. Joshua French still holding on to 2nd place ahead of Jacques Van Eden. Of course, that's overall. Class-wise, it is the Team Acme Racing number 8 bike that leads overall and leads in open, with Jacques Van Eden. He's P3 overall. He is 2nd in open. third place in Open, you have to go down to P8 and find Malcolm Steyn. Meanwhile, in the standard class, as in now it's Joshua French who leads the way in that one. He just takes the fastest lap as well from Team Acme Racing. It's a 53.802. Second place in standard is Harrison O'Keefe in P4 overall, and just behind him, Phil Joyce is third place in standard and rounding out the podium in that category as well. 4 laps left to go, and we've got a battle of the fastest laps between the front pair on the track, even though they're in different classes, and still lots of action out on the racetrack as well.
Yeah, like you said, Ross, and it was something we spoke about when we were at Lid. It'd be interesting to see how different these guys were on the Open and on the standard classes, but not a lot of time between these two front runners at all, with Marco Pandolfo on the number 8 leading for the MotoTeam Open, running first overall, and Joshua French on the 116 from MotoTeam Standard, running second overall but first from MotoTeam Standard. 3 laps left to go. On our screens we can still see the 64 of Ben O'Keefe as he comes through. Here are our leaders. Look at that. Nothing between these two at all, but yet they're running 2 different classes of bike. Absolutely brilliant stuff from here to be seen. Joshua French hot on the tail of Marco Pandolfo, and is absolutely finding a comfortable position for himself in this race.
Of course, these two racing has no effect on them whatsoever unless they come together in DNF. They're both leading and both set to win in their own categories, but they're racers at heart. The overall victory matters. Whoever crosses the line first, that matters to them. And Joshua French is going to put on the attack as they start the penultimate lap of the race. Marco Pandolfo holding firm down into turn 1. Look at the momentum on the 116. He nearly high sides out of turn 1. Somehow holds it. Actually had a little glance down at the rear wheel. I don't quite think he believed that he stayed on the bike there. Joshua French is pushing like a madman, and now set to 53.634, within a second of the old lap record under the old regs, which is unbelievable pace. Joshua French really wants that overall win.
He does, and he's gonna try and make a move if he can on the Team Acme bike, which has Marco Pandolfo on, to get that race win. Here we are now, just coming round paddock corner, coming into that final section, getting ready to start the final lap of racing here in the first race of the MotoTeam Championship at Ella Park. There is our race leader, Marco Pandolfo for Team Acme Racing on the MotoTeam Open bike. Brilliant stuff we have seen from him in this first race here at Ella Park. He has got a comfortable lead now. Joshua French has fallen back a bit, isn't so hot on his tail anymore. So Marco Pandolfo has just got the room to comfortably round this last lap and take that race win. There is the 116 of Joshua French. Looks like he could have had a bit of a problem. Let's go back to our leader, Marco Pandolfo for Team Acme Racing. Here he comes now, round these final corners, ready to take that first win at this first race here at Ella Park. Here he comes now, round onto that start-finish straight, and he passes the finish line and takes first place overall. It is Marco Pandolfo for Team Acme Racing. Who is going to come second overall? It is still Joshua French on the 116 MotoTeam Standard. Let's see who takes third place. It is looking to be Jacques Van Eden, and it is, and following him in fourth is Harrison O'Keefe, fifth Phil Joyce, and that makes our top 5 currently. Let's look at our results. First place overall, we had Team Acme Racing, Marco Pandolfo. Second place, Joshua French. Third, Jacques Van Eden. Fourth, Harrison O'Keefe. Fifth, Phil Joyce. Sixth, Linton Di Miola. Seventh, Ben O'Keefe. Eighth, Malcolm Steyn. Ninth, Paul Kelly. 10th, George Knight. 11th, Gary O'Keefe. And down at the bottom, 2 do not finishes, we had Rob Huntley and Reece Gentry.
Great racing there in the MotoTeam. Let's just go through the podiums of each of the classes as well quickly. It was Marco Pandolfo, the overall winner. He takes the winner as well in the open class for Team Acme Racing, with Jacques Van Eden second and Malcolm Steyn in P3. In the standard class, meanwhile, it's Joshua French who took the victory, Harrison O'Keefe second and Phil Joyce third. And will just have to update you on what's going on with the in-house Ashes tournament, the South Africans against the British, which isn't even technically the Ashes, because I'm pretty sure the Ashes is England, Australia. But you know what? We'll look beyond that. I like the idea. They've even got a trophy for it. It's a barbecue. It's quite nice. And it's a nice little tournament that they're doing as well. We'll have to update you and find out after we're done racing today. Race number 2 for the Moto team awaits us, and it is hotting up in this in-house Ashes tournament. It is currently the UK that leads South Africa by 3 points, 29 to 26. And part of that is potentially down to the fact that we've adopted a Sicilian. Marco Pandolfo on the Team Acme Racing number 8 bike is racing for the Union flag in this little tournament that the guys have organised for themselves. But on the other side of things, the South Africans also get to adopt the top British rider in the race, as there's only 3 of them out there on the grid, and it's only the top 4 from each nationality that score points. Again, this is all the brainchild of Malcolm Steyn by the sounds of things. And yes, it is a bit much to wrap your head around, but it is really, really interesting to see how this Ashes tournament's going to unfold. The Moto team guys getting ready to head out there in a short moment's time. It should be fascinating to watch. Let's see if South Africa can take the lead heading into race number 3, or if the UK can extend their advantage.
Yeah, we'll see. Of course, they're about to head themselves out on to track and then go for the formation lap. Some confusion being made. I think that is Steyn himself actually having a problem. Oh no, not looking good already for South Africa in this little beef quarrel. What have they got going on with the UK? Friendly competition, let's put it that way, between each of the 2 nations. Although it's not just 2 nations, it's sort of a coalition of sorts. The coalition, there's some nice niche to it that we could probably make. But they're making their way to the grid now. Of course, then we'll run you through the starting grid order for race number 2 of Moto Team. Of course, the interesting thing here when it comes to the championship as a whole, it's not the rider that scores points, it's the bike. One of the cheapest forms of motorsport in the UK.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Cheap and cheerful, possibly the wrong term to use, because yes, it is cheap, but it is absolutely brilliant racing with some brilliant people on there as well. Looks like whoever was having those issues in the holding area able to get going in the end. That looks like that was Jacques Van Eden. No, it wasn't Jacques Van Eden, it was in fact Malcolm Steyn, I believe, going off a P10. Should we run through the grid?
Yeah, we should do indeed. It'll be Team Acme Racing then on the number 8 machine that will lead from pole position. Joshua French then will join him on row number 1 ahead of Harrison O'Keefe and Phil Joyce, row number 2. Ben O'Keefe from Jacques Van Eden in 6th, ahead of George Knights, Paul Kelly and Linton de Moloya in 9th place. Malcolm Steyn then, after issues going to the grid, will start from 10th place ahead of Rhys Gentry, Rob Huntley and Gary O'Keefe, making up the rear end of the field with a mission in mind.
Yeah, Gary O'Keefe, he may not be scoring points for the UK, he might be a bit too far down the order, but he knows he can hold up the South Africans when they're coming around to lap him. The O'Keefes are taking this, I think, far more seriously than anybody actually anticipated anyone could, but good on them for getting out there and giving it a go. Of course, cast your mind back to this time a year ago, Ben O'Keefe crashing out from the race win on the very final corner. Man, oh man, that was interesting, wasn't it? But yeah, lots of interesting things happening in Moto Team this weekend. It's not just this mini Ashes tournament they're running. Linton de Moloya on a Suzuki this weekend. He's switched over from his normal Honda motor. Again, it's as long as he's running it for the same team with the same number on the plate, then it's all fine. It's all right to get the same points, but he seems to be running okay with it, seems to be enjoying it. Of course, though, Marco Pandolfo, must be said, he looks comfortable up the front. And don't forget as well, it's Moto Team. We've got 2 classes to keep an eye on as well. Let's go racing. Race number 2 is underway. Good launch there by Jacques Van Eden. Looks like Joshua French picked up the front of the bike down into turn 1, but will somehow sneak up the inside and get the lead. Not sure how he's got away with that one. How does Marco Pandolfo respond? Immediately fights back, but looks like French just slams the door shut and sweeps across the front of him. So Joshua French takes the overall lead. It must be said, though, first and second place on the road currently, 2 different classes. That's open for Marco Pandolfo on the 8. Joshua French is in standard, so just racing for overall position currently.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, 2 different classes. The open with less restrictions, the standard with a little bit more. So there are 2 races going on here. Of course, we'll do our best to keep you updated with all what is going on throughout the rest of this race. 10 laps, of course, in total. They're making their way through the first of that. When they break the beam, it'll be 9 to go. It's at the moment Team Acme Racing leading the way in the open. Joshua French, though, leading it overall. Harrison O'Keefe, a little bit of a wheelie at the start on the 65 machine, getting off to a tentative start. Moves being made further back as well as they make their way through. The first lap in the books is French from Acme. Jacques Van Eden there completing the top 3, and second place in the Open from Harrison O'Keefe, and Phil Joyce, the overall top 5.
Right now, looks like the UK set to extend their lead in this Ashes tournament. Obviously, we're not going to take sides here, but this is the Mastermark FAB-Racing Mini-Bike British Championship. Let's just leave it at that one, shall we? It's all fun and games at the end of the day. There is Jacques Van Eden. Little bit of a train forming behind him with Harrison O'Keefe and Phil Joyce all over the back of him. They are in the standard class, though. Van Eden, third place overall, second in the open class. His fight is with the man who's a little bit up the road and currently fighting for the overall lead. Team Acme Racing, the number 8 of Marco Pandolfo, leading the way in the open class currently and riding really on form. Joshua French, though, holding on to that overall lead right now. Little check back again. These guys, they don't need to race each other at all. If one finishes in front of the other, it does not matter. They're in different classes. They're both leading their respective races. But when you get out there on the track, you get on the bike, your visor goes down, you don't really think about those things. You just see someone in front of you, and especially when you're at the front of the pack and you want to overtake them, you want to cross the finish line first.
Yeah, exactly. Whether or not you're winning in your class, and fair enough. I mean, a lot of these guys are out there to win championships. A lot of these guys, again, they go to work Monday to Friday, whatever. They're here for a bit of fun. They want to have a race, even if they're dominating in their respective class. They see bike, they try to overtake said bike. 7.5 laps left to go. There you can see the orange 65. That's Harrison O'Keefe on the back then, trying to work his way through on that yellow machine just in front of him there, trying to get past. That's Jacques Van Eden just in front of him. Of course, we saw some really good results actually from Jacques Van Eden over last year here at Ella Park. Did a fantastic job is to take the fight to the front in what was the open class. Still doing so, of course. Able to take all but one victory last year. It was Malcolm Stein that took the other one. So happy hunting ground for those two riders.
Yeah, looks like Harrison O'Keefe having some issues out there on the 65 bike. He's dropped back big time. He's actually dropped back behind Ben. So what has happened to Harrison out there? Hopefully everything is A-OK. He was running up in third place for a little bit, and was right behind Jacques Van Eden and in the mix with Phil Joyce fighting for second place in standard class. He's now fourth in that category, just behind Ben on the 64 as well. So problems there. Here we see Linton Dimiola getting overtaken by Malcolm Stein. Oh, getting very, very close for comfort as they head down to the bottom end of the racetrack. Dimiola and George Knights on the number 23. That is for position. Malcolm Stein, that's just for overall places. He's in the open class compared to the other two on the standard. We're getting very, very racy, getting the elbows out a little bit. These guys trying to have some fun while they can. But also, Malcolm Stein, Linton Dimiola, they've got some points to win back for South Africa, so they need to push onwards and upwards together, work as one team rather than as individual moto teams. There's Jacques Van Eden holding up. Looks like Ben O'Keefe's managed to get through Phil Joyce on the 119, and indeed he has. So it's actually Harrison O'Keefe who slid back through. So Harrison O'Keefe, he dropped down to 6th overall, now back up into 4th overall. So having a bit of a crazy race right now.
Yeah, indeed. So it's been quite a good battle here in MotoTeam. Of course, the two different classes, and of course the interesting dynamic that comes with this class always opens the door for some interesting opportunities with the racing. Harrison O'Keefe then trying to find a way through, but to no avail this time by just yet. 5 laps left to go. 4, of course, at the line. It's Team Acme Racing the leads from Joshua French overall. Of course, both of those in 2 separate classes, but the fight for the overall lead still one that they're going to be wanting to go for indeed. Of course, at the moment, Jacques Van Eden leading Harrison O'Keefe in this little quartet train that we've got, although slightly broken up. There goes the look from Ben O'Keefe on the 64 machine. Nicely done to the inside of turn number 2 on the 119. That's, of course, Phil Joyce. So not too big of a battle going on there between the two riders representing the UK. Don't want to be taking too many points away from each other. Want to focus on the real enemy and to score as many points as they possibly can. Now 4.5 laps left to go. Let's see if Harrison O'Keefe can find a way through here on Jacques Van Eden.
Right now, just not quite yet. Jacques Van Eden doing a fantastic job to hold off those behind, but here comes up the inside. Oh, and he's gone down. Gave it too much on the front of it bit, and down he goes into Paddock Bend. Oh, that is heartbreaking for O'Keefe. And of course, that means he won't be allowed to rejoin the race. Either the front handlebars look bent, all out of shape as it anyway. and you can see trying to fix the bike, see if he can do anything, but that thing looks like it is toast. Race number 2 done and dusted there for the number 65 of Harrison O'Keefe. A real shame. He was running super well, but that's how it goes. Takes the pressure off the back of Jacques Van Eden, though. It must be said, he can now just get on, not have to worry about the O'Keefe behind, maybe just worry about the O'Keefe in front.
Yeah, exactly. One less to worry about. A look there from the 41. That's Linton Di Meola trying to find a way through on the 11 of Malcolm Stein. And of course, just in behind them as well, the 23 of George Knight trying to get involved in this battle. 2.5 laps left to go. So not long left at all. And a shame, of course, for Harrison O'Keefe, and a big hit actually for the UK in the MotoTeam Ashes Championship here at Ella Park. Let's hope, of course, for them that it's not going to be too costly in bringing home the trophy, because the South Africans will be looking at that, laughing and loving the fact that Harrison O'Keefe came off.
Yeah, they'll be enjoying that. To be fair, knowing Harrison, he's probably got a smile on his face anyway. He always likes a bit of chaos, as do all of the O'Keefes. Very popular members of the paddock, and incredibly funny if you ever get the chance to speak to them. And even when things don't go their way, always got a smile on their face. But yeah, a real shame for Team UK. Advantage Team South Africa in this one. 2 laps left to go as Marco Pandolfo crosses the line. There is Gary O'Keefe. Now, Marco from Sicily is on Team UK this weekend. He's been claimed as an international contestant, so don't think Gary O'Keefe's going to give him too much grief. In fact, it's a little while till we see a South African, and Gary O'Keefe said that is his mission objective this weekend, is when he gets lapped, if it's a South African behind them, he is going to hold them up with every last fibre of his being.
Defend like a lion. Negotiating the traffic really well, actually, is the number 8, carving his way through the traffic. A lap and a half left to go to negotiate, to take not only the open win, but also the overall to go with that, and scoring some fantastic points for Team UK in the MotoTeam Ashes. But yeah, Gary O'Keefe, it's personal for him. He's taking this very seriously. At the moment there you can see best lap time coming in 53.135, best of anyone out there on track at the moment, by some margin, 0.3 over Joshua French, the next quickest rider out on track. One more tour of Ella Park to go for Team Acme Racing to bring home some very solid points here in MotoTeam.
Yeah, it's been a great weekend for Marco Pandolfo. He had a fantastic weekend back in Lid, it must be said. 3 second places, of course, Will Houth on the number 96 bike. Anytime that thing opens or turns up, you can just basically give out the awards for the open class anyway. So we'll have to wait and see as he comes round. What a performance it has been to make it 2 from 2 with a couple of corners left to go. Marco Pandolfo, his 2025 has been fantastic so far, and it is just going to get even sweeter as Joshua French has gone down and out of the race on the very final lap. Unbelievable. The 116, who was leading in the standard class, has gone down and is out of the race. It will be Marco Pandolfo who takes victory in race number 2 of the MotoTeam overall and for the open class. That means if Joshua French is down, it could be, surely it's got to be. I'm just waiting to see who he is. It is! It's redemption for Ben O'Keefe, surely! No, that was Gary that was crossing the line. Hold on, he's coming up a little bit. But it's going to be redemption for Ben O'Keefe a year after he crashed out of the lead on the final corner. This time, Ben O'Keefe takes a standard class win. Oh, unbelievable. That is, well, some late drama here. Joshua French, your heart goes out to him, but Ben O'Keefe takes victory in the standard class a year after he threw it away. Man, oh man, that was very special indeed. What a performance from him. Ben O'Keefe takes the win in the standard class. Team Acme Racing, Marco Pandolfo take the win in the open class. I think that's advantage UK in the Ashes as well?
Well, we assume so. Let's find out when we can have confirmation. It seems, though, the UK didn't do a bad job, to say the least. Of course, we'll run you through the full results in a few moments' time, of course. But yeah, MotoTeam, as always, providing us some drama, some action, and some excitement. Let's run you through the results. It was Team Acme Racing and Team UK taking the victory in MotoTeam. Ben O'Keefe winning the standard class as well with P2 overall. Jacques Van Eden across the line, P3 overall and P2 in the open class. Phil Joyce in second from Linton de Miola, a podium place in MotoTeam standard. Then comes George Knights, Malcolm Stein, then comes Paul Kelly, Rob Huntley. Joshua French still classified in P9 as things stand, but it will be Gary O'Keefe classified as the final finishing rider, with Joshua French and Harrison O'Keefe are 2 DNFs for race 2 of MotoTeam. Of course, hopefully we'll see these guys a little bit later on for race number 3 of round number 2 of the 2025 Mastermac FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship here at Ella Park. It's been quite good for MotoTeam, and of course the extra stakes, the extra jeopardy, the extra prize on offer for these guys has definitely added some excitement.